This is a lower body mobility and proprioception workout for you. Start by marching in place. We're going to start with a slow march. Focus on lifting your knees. Of course, let your arms swing, let your shoulder girdle move. Articulate your feet, lifting heel toe, landing toe heel. Elongate your spine, elongate your neck. And pick up that pace. Keep those knees nice and high. Inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Be very light in the joints. Good quality movement. Notice if you're leaned forward or leaned back. Try to find that center of gravity, shoulders directly on top of the pelvis. Warming up the body. We'll just spend another 30 seconds here. Pick up that pace more. It should be slightly uncomfortable. Quick warm up. Again, easy on the joints. Like a little jog. Final 10 seconds. And stop there. Take your legs wider, hands on top of your shoulders, ipsilateral side bend. Same side, we have some trunk flexion. Knee to elbow, elbow to knee. If there's any popping in the hips, take your knee slightly more forward. Couple more on each side. And stand with your legs wide in Voyer stance. Rotate your toes in. Your knees should rotate in, pointing past the second toe. Bend and straighten your knees. Outer knife's edge of the foot, really push that down into the floor. Good, knees forward, knees back. I'm staying straight in my gravity line, allowing some internal rotation in the hip joints. I'm going to stand a little wider here. Only if your ankles are warm, though. Bend your knees, hold the bend, posterior and anterior pelvic tilt. As that tailbone goes down, elongate your spine upward through the crown of the head. There's no change in the legs, just the pelvis moves. Anteversion, retroversion. Move a little faster, allow this to be a warm-up. We'll go for 5, 4, 3, 2, and from here on out, we maintain that strong posterior pelvic tilt. Keep those knees soft, toes have some wiggle room. This is translation of the pelvis, but it seems more like a rocking the boat. So I'm just going to take my pelvis over to one side and back to the center. And over to the other side and back to the center. As you alternate sides, avoid moving your legs. The knees don't change. So that rib cage is still, it's the pelvis that does the translation. It's a small move. One more on each side. Good. Same leg position. Extend those arms out, hands higher than the shoulders, shoulders relaxed. Same side and center. Push the heels of the hands away from one another, just warming up the upper body a little. Keep the weight even on your legs. 2 more. And straight into the other side. This is pure translation, so the head moves with the body. Right? Not a lot of head tilt. Last 2. And 1. Take a side bend. Allow that top arm to cross over the midline, but then reach up through the top hand. Keep good positioning of the neck. And take it over to the other side. Maintain your pelvic tilt. Last 2. Stand with your feet in your gravity line. I recommend standing on the floor instead of a thick mat. Second toes are parallel, heels are directly underneath the front pockets. Soften your knees just slightly. Tailbone points down, chin slightly in. We're in our best standing gravity line. Put your weight onto the base of your big toe. At the same time, put the weight onto the outer edge of your foot. At the same time, put weight onto your inner heel. Let's keep that action of our 3 points and bend the knees and straighten the knees. So we're very thoughtful about where the weight is in the feet as we move the knees forward and back. Gradually increase that range. Think push the knees forward. We do want the knees to go over the toes, but we're good with that because we have some weight in the heels. Not a squat, the spine goes straight down and straight up. Last 5. Push your range, go 4, 3, 2. Stand it up, let's change that exercise. Lift your toes off the floor and roll onto the outer edge of your foot, towards the pinky toe side of your foot, and then do the opposite thing. Roll onto the base of your big toe. That would be our pronation, or our eversion and inversion. Minimize movement at the knees, and try to get this to come as much from the ankles as you can. There will be a little knee movement, but minimize that. Same exercise, but create more of the work on the ball of the foot, the front of the foot, rolling onto the big toe side of your foot, rolling onto the pinky toe side of your foot. Imagine you're rolling each one of the bases of your big toes into the floor. Good. Now same exercise, but take the weight back into your heels. Do the same thing. Roll onto the outer heel, inner heel. And finally, create that motion, inversion, eversion on the center of the foot. Maintain your spine, your head in the gravity line. Set your toes down, come back to your 3 points. Press down base of the big toe, outer arch, inner heel. Toes are down, you're just not imprinting the floor with your toes. Soften your knees, shift your weight to one leg, still working the 3 points. Arms can come out for balance. Use the opposite foot for a kickstand. Lift the opposite knee in line with your hip and just tap it back to the floor. Lift and lower. Maintain that weight on your 3 points of the standing foot. That standing knee is pointing straight forward. Do not allow it to turn in or out. Good. If you've come forward onto the ball of your foot, shift some weight back into your heel. Good. Let's leave that knee up, level the hips, flex your front foot, and rotate the foot in and out. The femur, the thigh bone, is not moving. We're creating a rotation in the hip joint. Maintain that knee directly in front of the hip. Return your foot to the floor. Let's set it up for the other side. 3 points quickly. Soft bend at your knees. Shift your weight. Find your kickstand. It's a progression. Lower and lift. No movement in the spine. I still have my posterior tilt. It's a pure hip flexion. Standing knee, again, really important for that to be forward. Last 2. Hold your knee in line with your hip. If you need to, level out the hip, keeping a long waist on both sides. Find that rotation. Knee is right in front of the hip. Couple more. Good. Stand with your feet in your gravity line. Very simple here. Manage the position of your pelvis. It's slightly tucked. Lift your heels and lower your heels. Lift and lower with control. Eliminate any of the forward and back motion. Instead, feel like you're being pulled straight up by the crown of your head. And we're going to pick up that pace, still controlling the down position. Right? Do not allow pronation or rolling out of the ankles. Go 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Turn your toes out. Start slow, lift your heels. So my knees are as open as my second toe. Weight is even from the base of the big toe to the pinky toe. And lower, and lift, and lower. We control the down, resisting our way back to the floor. Arms can be wherever you need them to be for balance. Now we just pick up the pace. Here we go. Here's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. For your next one, stand on a thicker mat if you have one. If not, stand on the floor. We're back into our gravity line. Again, base of the big toe presses down into the floor. Make sure your toes stay down for this one. Base of the big toe, outer arch, inner heel. This is not a place we land and arrive. It's a searching for the 3 points. Soften your knees. Shift your weight to one leg. Find your kickstand. Lift your knee in line with your hip. A little bit more challenging on a squishy mat. Much more sense of proprioception and balance. Many people lean backwards. Make sure your shoulders are right over your hips. Now, keeping those hips square, take your knee across. Do not move your standing leg. Work your 3 points. If at any time this gets easy, close your eyes for a moment. When we work proprioception, we go for 1 minute. It's about 30 seconds longer than you actually like it. Go back to those 3 points. Inner heel is a piece of that. Float the crown of your head upwards. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. Bring that leg down. Shake it out. Set it up on the other side. Look down. Make sure your toes are pointing forward, not out. Soften the knees. On both feet, work your 3 points. Again, toes are down. Shift your weight to the other leg. Find your kickstand first. Find your balance. Notice here, you might need a mirror, but notice, does your knee like to roll in or roll out? Make your kneecap face straight ahead. Take that knee across your body again. The leg crosses over the hips. Don't rotate. No movement in the spine. No rotation in the pelvis. This is hard work. Right? If you can be completely still here, you are cheating. Search your foot into the floor. Ankle on fire. We're 30 seconds in. Good. Manage your spine. Manage your position in space. If you fall out, you come right back in. Final 10 seconds. Here's 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Come down to your knees. Take one leg forward. It does not matter which one. Your toes are pointed forward. You have a nice wide stance so that balance is not an issue for you. The knee and the toes are pointing straight ahead. The pelvis is square. Hands behind your head. Think no movement from the waist down. We'll rotate the upper body. So we take elbow to knee and come back up. Think of your hip that's supporting you as being the center axis for the entire movement. As you rotate, be very careful not to pull on your neck. Instead, reach your elbows away from one another. Last 3. And 2. And 1. Take that same knee out so that your heel is in line with your knee. Find a big posterior pelvic tilt and encourage your knee to open. Weight on the outer knife's edge of your foot. This is your base. Open from hip to knee. Now walk that foot out further and lean into the leg. Okay, I'm not hanging in the joints. I'm actively pushing against the mat, opening my knee. All 3 points with that foot work. Now draw the heel and the knee towards one another. You need a very strong posterior pelvic tilt to stretch this muscle. This is pectineus. We're also opening up 2 big ligaments at the front of the hip. Tailbone reaches for the floor, crown of the head for the sky. It's a very active stretch. Gently come on up and change sides. So we started with the rotation. You've got your toes forward, nice wide stance. Hands behind your head. Now stay very solid on top of the standing hip and rotate. We'll go for 10. Last 4. What is happening with the foot on the floor? Can you work your 3 points? Come on up, second exercise. Find a 90-degree bend. Encourage your hips to open. Strong posterior pelvic tilt. Grow space between your outer hip and your knee. Lengthen that horizontally. Walk your foot out. Now glance down, look at your second toe. Your knee needs to aim in the same direction as your second toe. If that means your leg has to come forward some, that's fine. Strong tilt. Find your lean. Right, I can't emphasize the tuck under enough on this one. Pull the knee and the heel towards one another. And breathe. That knee, really squeeze the mat in with it. Manage the rest of your spine. Final 10 seconds. Hold 4, 3, 2, and come on up. Have a seat. Your legs will be in a wide straddle. Your hands can be behind you as a kickstand, but try to maintain the length of your spine. Rotate your thighs, rotate your femur, internal, external. It's okay to feel some tightness, no pain in your hips. No pain, no strain in your hip joint. Okay, here we go. Press the backs of your knees into the floor. Strongly flex your feet. Decoap the hip, finding more space inside the ball and socket joint. It's a micro movement. Ideally, your heels are off the floor. You can glance at your ankles for this. All I want is inversion and eversion. So imagine you have a mirror on the bottom of your foot. We shine that mirror forward, and then we shine that mirror back. Knees don't change. Knees don't move. It's not a rotation. It's inversion and eversion. Continue to spread the toes, peeling your toes up towards the ceiling. Couple more. And once you've found your inversion, mirror shining forward, really pull your toes back, decoapt your hips, and then rotate inward from the hip joint. If we rotate the hip, we continue to reach out, decoapting the hip, finding space. Press down through your sit bones, grow through the crown of your head. Optional, hands to be in your lap. I say optional, but challenge yourself. We want the knees to rotate inward, the outer heels to press outward. Hold for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Relax the legs, keep the spine tall. Walk your legs into more of a long sit. Feet are 2 fist distance apart, so heels are in line with the frontal hip pockets. Hands are just a little bit of like a kickstand. Flex your feet, point your feet, flex your feet, point. Give me a couple more all the way through the toes. And relax. Lift one knee, just bend your knee slightly, lifting up towards the ceiling, and let that knee fall outward. The space between the heels has not changed. The hips have not changed. You've got a handle in your bent knee. Hold on to that. Flex the straight leg. Push your heel forward, but keep your hip pulling backwards. It's a 2-directional stretch through the heel and through the seat. Hopefully you already feel your hamstring. This is hamstring myofascial stretch. Inversion of the foot. Toes are peeling back. Finally, internally rotate at the hip. The arm on the same side as your straight leg. Extend it forward. Give me a stop hand. Externally rotate. Lift tall through the spine and hinge forward. It's more about sending the tailbone backwards. No rotation here. Strongly push through the arm, decoap the shoulder. Internally rotate the straight leg. Should be a very big hamstring stretch. Can you spread your toes? Good. Really ground down through that sit bone on the stretching leg. Internally rotate. A couple more breaths here. And release. Come back into your long sit. Shake it out. Make sure you have your spacing. Lift the other knee and just set it to the side. You've got your handle. Find your spine. Flex the straight leg foot. Open your toes. Push down through your sit bones, rise through your crown. Big flex through the foot. Inversion. Internally rotate. Again, push the heel forward, but draw the sit bone back. Two-directional stretch. Stop hand on the same side as the straight leg. Externally rotate. Pick your chest up and hinge forward. Tailbone out. Think tail feathers out. Big internal rotation. Medial border of the knee into the floor. Lifting through the crown. Really pull your toes back. That's a big part of this. Reach into your stretch. Final 10 seconds here. Breathe. And come on up. Now the hardest transition of the day, stand up. You want to be on the floor or a thin mat for this one. I'll do one set from the front and one set from the side. So you're setting up for a squat. That's our best gravity line and hip mobility exercise we can do. Feet are wider than hip distance, and you may have a slight turn out at the toes, but not much. Feel the bottoms of your feet, your 3 points. Without bending over, push your knees forward and backwards. Whatever direction your feet are facing, that's the direction your knees are aiming. Okay, we're not bending over yet. We're sliding straight down a wall, straight up a wall. Knees go forward, knees go back. Now we're going to add to that a little bit of a hinge forward at the hips, but allow the knees to go forward. So as we work ourselves into this squat, we very much stay over the center of the foot. Knees forward is the first action. Hinging forward slightly is the second action. If your heels leave the floor, you have ankle mobility to work on, and that's all you do. We can gradually make this bigger, but the knees forward element does not change. The weight in your feet does not change. We have our 3 points. A squat is easy. A detailed squat, where is your weight on the bottoms of your feet? Where are your knees in space? Much more challenging. Make sure as you squat that your head moves with you. That means that your eyes will gaze slightly down as you squat, and then forward as you stand up. The head moves with the body. Increase some range if your ankles allow you to. Make sure that your lower back, there's no arch in your back. This is the ELDOA. We need a nice flat lumbar here. That's not for life. That's for the purpose of our exercise. Both legs are working evenly. Go for 10. We can pick up the pace and 9. Here's 8. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. Shake it out. Take a little walk around. Get ready for your second set. I'll show from the side. Toes are just slightly out. Legs are wider than hip distance. We're going to start the exact same way. Knees forward, knees back. I spend so much time on this because it takes practice. Our brains are programmed to squat like this. That is not a squat. Not a squat. Knees forward and back. Find that mobility. And then gradually hinge forward slightly. Head travels with you. Abdominal muscles are always pulled in. Increase your pace. Going for about 30 here. Go 10 and 9. Let your knees go forward. You have weight in the back of your foot. You're safe. Last 4, 3, 2, and 1. You're going to come down to kneeling. I'm going to use the RX mat. My favorite is a short yoga block, one of the foam yoga blocks for this one, but I'm using what I have. So come to kneeling and put your block or your RX mat underneath your knee. Okay, my toes are tucked under. I'm going to really use my toes for this. My toes are on the floor. Shift your weight. This will be our working side, the one that's on the block. We want the knees side by side and a strong posterior pelvic tilt. Arms out for balance. And just try lifting the supporting foot. I don't know if you can see, but the hip that I'm working, that foot is on the floor for now. Your body will want to rotate. Keep your hips square. Keep your knees side by side. This is hip proprioception. We want 1 minute here. If this becomes too easy for you, lift both toes off the mat, both feet. Much harder, but don't be afraid to wobble. The goal is to not win this exercise. If you're not wobbling, if you're not having to work for it, you're not working proprioception. You're doing nothing. Good. If it becomes easy, close your eyes. That's our third level. Good. Do your best. Final 10 seconds. Close your eyes for just a moment. Challenge the hip joint. Hold for 4, 3, 2, and come on down. Change sides. I'm going to show from the back. First level, my toes are on the floor. Posterior tilt, spine is tall. Knees are side by side. Find your balance. Second level, lift the other foot. Third level, close your eyes. Good. Maintain that pelvic tilt. Hips are square to the front. 1 minute is the magic number for proprioception. More is not better. Final 15 seconds. Challenge yourself. Hold for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stand up. Walk it off. We're ending with a round of 10 general ELDOA. Lie down on your back. Hold on to the inside of your knees, the arms crossed like an X, the feet are flexed. Shoulders out of your ears, eyes are looking downward. Back is flat. Extend your opposite arm and your opposite leg away. Pause here, make sure you're pulling your knee in pretty hard to keep your back flat. The straight leg comes up for 4, 3, 2, on 1. Pause to stand on the ceiling. Now we worked a lot of ankle and inversion here. The foot is flexed. You have a little inversion with your foot, and you have a little internal rotation with your hip. Change sides. Extend your arm, extend your leg. Leg comes up for 4, 3, 2. Pause to push your heel upward, tailbone downward, and then look for those rotations. Foot is inverted with a slight internal rotation of your knee. Change sides. We build that into the exercise. So as we reach the leg out, we set the foot, we set the hip, and change. Back is flat, eyes are down, just a reminder. Reach through the shoulder, reach. Make sure that your leg is in line with your hip rather than jutting out to the side or letting your leg cross the midline. Last 2. And final 1. Set your feet on the mat. Rest one hand on your belly, one hand on your chest. Relax your shoulders. Take a few deep diaphragmatic breaths. Big inhale, belly rises. Easy exhale, belly falls. Again. Great job.